Welcome back. This is Squidder Dragon with the next in the series of the climb in the ladder from silver. The next deck I am demonstrating is Azorius Control with a deck that I refer to as Borrow the Gadwish. This deck relies principally on the Borrower and Gadwick and also Fave Wishes. So enjoy. Good opening hand in this first match. The opponent is Big Hungry Bill. We'll see if he bites off more than he can chew. This opponent seemed to be quite a bit of a slow player, whether it's just new or just the style of play, but eventually he gets started. And surprise, surprise, mono red. Maybe an aggro deck, but it's not an aggro player in terms of playing speed. One of the nice things about this deck in terms of the way that I put it together is I run the Cerulean Drake, which of course has protection from red, so you'll see it features particularly in this match and one of the later matches as well. So not a bad bit of tech when going up against particularly in the ladder climb, the red decks, and mono red in particular. So again, we're waiting for our opponent to contemplate his navel and decide what he's going to play. So, Runaway Steamkin. How difficult was that? So I go up to 2 mana and I can cast out the Drake. So this Cerulean Drake sits across the battlefield staring at the Steamkin. Go on, I dare you, I dare you. And again, our opponent takes his time to work out what he's going to do. He goes up to a grand total of 3 mana. Question is, what's he going to do with it? So skewer the critics straight to face. Pumps the Steamkin. I was interested to see whether he was going to attack. As a typical mono red aggro player. And sure enough he does. This must have come as a bit of a surprise. But I would have thought the red shield was a bit of a giveaway. no damage on the Drake. And because we're playing against a red mage, I just want to get rid of the Steamkin anyway. The good thing about Prison Realm is the scry, so I can see Gadwish, which will obviously have a leave, although it's obviously sometime when I cast, but it's one of the key cards in the deck. And I say I only run 2 copies rather than the full set, but 2 tend to do a good job. Features in quite a few of the matches, as you might imagine. I run a decent amount of removal. I mean, it's technically Azorius Control, although it's not really typically the way these decks are built. So I don't run 26 land. I think there's only 23, which is probably a little bit light on land, but it's a low curve generally. The top end, as you can see, is a Dream Trawler. And I use quite a bit of counter magic, in particular the negates, which I could think come in very handy. So we draw Gadwish, which we knew was coming from the scry. We're just happy to have him on board. Fae of Wish is again in the deck, and I've got a full play set of Fae of Wishes. It's an incredible card, I think. You're playing in effect with access to a further 15 cards, because it's really a fetch, it's like a tutor. And it allows you to prepare tools in the sideboard that can be very useful depending on the matchup. I still play this, of course, in best of 1, but in effect best of 1 has a sideboard because it works in these best of 1 matches. Opponent eventually gets around to casting Krenko, which again has the same thing, can't really do anything, but I don't want it attacking and creating 1/1s because I've only got the 1 Drake currently, and again usefully had the Prison Realm. I also have Banishing Light currently, so this deck obviously has quite a lot of good removal to try and stop some of the early plays and build up to its later, more powerful endgame, like any good control deck does. And we attack in with the board being clear. Still looking for mana, of course. So again, it goes back to this having 23 land only in the deck. Maybe it should have more, probably arguably it definitely should have more, but you'll see in the matches you're going to watch apart from 1. So there's 1 loss. I think there's a total of 5 matches in this episode with 1 loss, but it was sufficient to rank up from Silver 2 to Silver 1. And I think on balance it's a stronger deck than Rakdos Kill Creatures was, even though Rakdos Kill Creatures did a pretty decent job, at least as far as climbing the meta is concerned. So you see I go up to 4 mana, so it's an opportune time cast Fae of Wishes with the adventure side. So this gives you a chance to look at the sideboard and some of the tools I've got in there as part of the fetch. And at that point in time, you don't even get to see the sideboard because the opponent quits. So this is the first match, and 2 pips on the board onto the next match. Again, you won't have to wait much between the matches because of the editing. We go straight into the next match. So again, comments welcome, and if you think that's a good edit and you prepare just to go into the next action. It's a fairly long video, just over an hour, but then it's an hour for 5 matches. So again, the start, but we only have white mana. So I decide to mulligan. To the most expensive spells, ship that back. Still didn't end up with any blue, but we'll see how this goes. Opponent's Jodo, casting a swamp, potentially mono black. I play out the plains. Again, I have the Cerulean Drake, but of course we're not against a red mage. There's 4 Cerulean Drakes in the deck, so it's still useful to have as an early creature. Still don't draw any blue, but there's time yet. Opponent goes up to 3 black, still no plays. I draw the second Drake. So hoping not to have to discard any of the cards, because I end up drawing something that I can't play. Opponent goes up to 4, casts his first creature. I draw land, but it's another white land. I do have the Conclave Tribunal, but that needs 1 more mana. So opponent ramps up with another creature up to 5 mana, so it's definitely mono black. And fortunately I draw my 4th land, and the play here is to Tribunal the Death Toucher with 3 power. Because I'm sitting with 2 Brazen Borrowers as well, as I said, there's a full play set in this deck. I'm quite happy as well that I can start to manage things with using their Borrowers' petty theft. You see I also have a negate, which does come into play in this deck. So again, it's one of the key spells. Cast at the right time, of course. Okay. Another blue mana. Advantage with drawing this, particularly blue, for my second blue at this point in time, I can do a neat trick and send both of these creatures back to his hand. So it's a massive tempo swing at this stage of the match, given that I'm already down to 16 life. And I'm also sitting on Elspeth's with 5 mana, so things going well. So here I cast a second Petty Theft. So pretty strong turn from my perspective, but helped by the fact that I did draw in, fortunately, after the mulligan into decent mana. And love that animation, by the way, never gets tired. But I guess opponents playing against the card probably get a bit fed up of it. Arguably better than Teferi in my opinion. I only have, I think, one Teferi. I didn't particularly want to craft any more necessarily. You can see I draw my third Brazen Borrower, so certainly the draws have been very kind to me in this match. And again, I return the Airless back to his hand, so tempo all the way. And cast out one of the drakes. At least the drake's a target. It's only a 1/1, but it's a target in the board for, particularly against mono black. He probably doesn't consider this as a big threat necessarily, but we'll see what happens. So more mana. So what I do choose to do here is just bring out the creature side of the Brazen Borrower. It's got enough power to take down the Aerialist. And you'll see as well I keep up open mana for the negate rather than cast a second drake. So if the Aerialist is going to do any damage, it needs to worry about either trading with the 3/1 or how to deal with it. And he must know there's another 2 potentially coming later on as well. Again, he draws into more mana, up to 6 now, so we're matched. 6 mana apiece. He tries to cast Maya's Grasp. So here we can see the benefit of having the negates, and again I have 4 negates in the deck for this justice type of situation. Not necessarily countering creatures, but countering spells like this. Second Aerialist. Here's Gadwish, but not the time to cast them now. I've really got to get rid of at least one of these Aerialists. So cast Elspeth Conquers Death to take out one of them. I've still got the protection from the 3/1 in the air, flying. Again, no attacks. If he wants to attack, I'll trade. So, casting back out. Now that was a card that was good to see. Let's see if the opponent knows how Dream Trawler works. Again, I think I run 2 Dream Trawlers. Again, this is my limited free-to-play deck, so it doesn't have as big a collection, but it's got a decent collection of spells for making decks. Opponent really just on, rather than bigger end of his curve, he's just relying on fast creatures, fast cheap creatures, and obviously the lifelink element. Dream Trawler pumps up, and now I stock up by casting Gadwish and drawing 3 cards. Excellent draw, and a decent body to boot. Which neatly pumps up the Dream Trawlers. There's a nice combination there. The card draw from Gadwish into the Dream Trawler. You can now attack. Expected a block here. I also decide to attack with a 3-1 just to put pressure on, given that I'm getting that all that life. Opponent doesn't seem willing to trade. Yet more mana, which I cast out, up to 7. Opponent on 9. Flyers in the air. He tries casting Bone Splinters, but as I said, I wondered whether he actually knows how Dream Trawler works. He's about to find out. I discard the Drake. It's just not really having much impact. Useful to have in hand. both airlifts have been pumped up, but as you can see I've got another Prison Realm in hand. The gate shields were down at this stage, so Gadwish goes. He's done his job in terms of drawing the cards. Opponent steams in, but with the last attack with the Dream Trawler, my health's looking pretty good, so no blocks. Do your worst. Now it's back to my turn. Even more mana. I say the deck's only got 23 land, but there was no issues with drawing into land in this game. And here I bring the borrows up to put more pressure in the air. And Prison Realm to take out one of the area lists as well, just cutting them down. Does the opponent have another murder? And has he learnt his lesson? From the Prison Realm, I scry into a Conclave Tribunal. Just perfect. Attack with all. Thorn Thirst, but you see now I do have the negate up, so I cast in negate. Opponent gives me an oops. Opponent on 1 life. Up to 22 myself. Casting another Death Toucher. Just a pity it's not in the air. I'm not going to do him much good on the ground. Jodo is only on 1 card as well in his hand, which he casts, drag to the underworld, which is fine. He's only on 1 life anyway, so. And little does he know that I'm going to be removing the flyer. Comes in, nothing to block. My turn. Even more mana. He says good game. And quits. On to the next match. In this next match, the opponent is Pinilinsk with an Ajani avatar. My opening hand had 3 planes, but because I had a banishing light, I chose to keep that, and again rely on the fact that hopefully I draw into blue. So opponent playing enchantments. This is a match I think I lose, but it was tricky. The first order of business was to banish the lifelinker. At least that enchantment is not pumping the lifelinker, so I'm going to be taking damage until I have answers. But the opponent is not going to be massively ramping up. Blue arrives, which is good. The borrower sends the 2/2 away, at least negating the power up from the enchantment, which is lost. So now the opponent attacking in with the Paradise Druid. Giving me an opportunity to lock it down. Opponent at this point on 3 cards, but it's a type of deck that can get very powerful very quickly with little mana, just because of the power of the enchantments, particularly when they stack against each other. Opponent thinking. I scry into the Wanderer. But in this case decide that I probably need to try and draw into something a bit better. Thinking back on, it may have been better to hold on to the Wanderer, but the issue is I've got no way of protecting it, so with these enchantments, as you see coming out, without me having a decent answer by this point in time, I think the Wanderer would have been taken down pretty quickly anyway. So in hindsight, probably still the right move. Comments please though, if you think differently. Yeah, Sentinel's Eyes. I do negate this, I know it's doesn't lose it, it goes back, it always returns, but just trying to buy myself some time. Mana was developing quite nicely, but interesting in the deck, you can see mass manipulation. It's interesting, I think I run 2 in the deck, and I've seen comments around mass manipulation saying how good is it reality, maybe there's something better. It can be useful, it can be game winning. The downside, I guess, with mass manipulation is the strict casting cost of having 4 blue, even as a starting cost, before you then add extra mana on top to steal or mass manipulate creatures. So it's maybe something to look at over the course of the deck as to whether there's a better card in that slot given its strict mana requirement. Opponent tries again to put a cheap 1 mana cost enchantment. So again, having the negates in the deck is useful to try and just slow things down. I've also got Ether Gust, so this is just all doing as much as I can this time from a tempo point of view, just to try and keep everything under control. He just replays following the Gust, but at least it's used all his mana. In effect, he's only attacking with the 1/2. Of course, Sentinel's Eyes comes back out. Now he's starting to create the tokens as well, or start drawing into mana. So now I have the Dream Trawler. Mana available with lifelink. But Banishing Light, no, I do. So ditch the mass manipulation to tap and hexproof. So although he's only on 2 mana, the issue is the impacts of the spells. He's got a far better board, despite the fact that I've got the Dream Trawler with lifelink. And these very, very cheap enchantment spells are just taking over at this point in time. All for a Gadwish at this point in time, but even then I wouldn't have had the mana to cast it. Yeah, all it glitters. Yeah, so this is where the match kind of slips away. Now this is interesting. I have Fair Wishes, but I think the problem is it's the amount of time that I have. So now you will see the sideboard from Fae. And yes, look, so I have 2 planar cleansing, so obviously I take one of those as being probably my only and best chance. However, and then of course, because my mana's not bad, I can cast out so I've got additional protection in the air, quite handy with these 1/1 tokens. So hoping that I can keep my life high enough that I can then use the planar cleansing. Opponent's on 1 card. But my life, as you can see, is dangerously low in 6. There's Sentinel's Mark, another enchantment. More tokens. Quite the overpowering. So I just concede with a good game and move on to the next match. So I lose one for the loss, down to 3, so 3 to go in theory. So these next 2 matches I go on to win, but let's see how they play. Good starting mana again, and both colours this time, which is nice. And surprise, surprise, it's another at least semi-red Rakdos in this case. We know all about Rakdos from my Rakdos Kill Creatures, but the Drake of course just needs to have a card that has red in its mana cost, so the 1/1 counts. Again, whether we have beginners I don't necessarily know, or whether he was just trying to get the damage, the death trigger damage. Opponent gives an oops, so I assume it was the latter, the former should I say, not recognising that he couldn't profitably attack with the creature itself. But irrespective, he got the 1 damage in anyway, so. You say I have a borrower, so I'm in a good position to do this normal tempo plays. On Mayhem Devil, I draw a Gadwish, some way off in casting, but it's good again to have it. In this case, I decide to just lock it down with the Conclave Tribunal. Opponent gives me an ice, and now I can start chipping away with the Drake. Opponent has another Footprint. As long as that's holding up, the Drake's not going to attack. It can just sit there, and if he wants to attack, it just dies. So I'll send it back anyway. This is more just from the tempo point of view. Just uses his mana up because he's going to use 1 mana at least. And I think at this point in time, he was probably a bit starved. Well, he's on 3, so I was definitely ahead in mana. So yeah, as expected, he cast it out again. So the tempo play did its work. And I ramp into more mana, but I do a similar thing, but now it's the borrower sending it back. Oh no, that's the other side, sorry. That was the second, that was the creature part of the Petty Theft. Dispatch with Jaya's Greeting. Again, it can't take the Drake out because it's a red spell. Used all his mana on that turn. Or prevented damage. Petty Theft again on the 2/2. And I also cast the Wanderer. Good thing about that, any burn spells directly to face. Protected. You can't really attack it with the 1/1 because the Drake will just kill it. So quite a good spot. The Mage comes back up, so the tempo plays are working well. Cast out the creature's side again of the Borrower, and again keep the 1/1 back because it can block the 2/2 if it attacks. So having the Wanderer on the board, yeah. I think that the Wanderer applies to all creatures, so I think everything in the battlefield, I think it's like non-combat damage, so Bowen was trying to work out why that didn't go well, but of course it's because, so having the Wanderer in this deck, pretty good tech. He does an oops. I think the actual text on the Wanderer is prevent all non-combat damage. Not just the player, but just period. I draw a Prison Realm, so again take care of the 2/2 just from a permanent basis. I scry into a Banishing Light, which I want to hold on to. I've learned, I think, from playing the Rakdos deck, Kill Creatures, where I was probably a bit too aggressive. Certainly with this deck, sitting back in defense and biding time is a better strategy. I have the Negate again, which is ideal, just so I can maintain the pressure of the 3/1 attacking the life total. And the players had enough. So here I'm 1 win away, assuming I don't lose the next match, from ranking up. So without further ado, let's get on to the next match. Moteno. I think this, from memory, was another loss, so I think I lose this one, but then go on to win the next one, so I end up ranking up. Three Gadwicks. I thought I only had 2, so I'll need to check again on the deck tick. But yeah, three's decent. It's a key card, obviously, in the deck, along with the Brazen Borrower and the Fae of Wishes. So you see a lot of those in this hand, so quite good to have that. Keep. Decision time. Yeah, I think actually I do choose the Negate. So it seems a bit odd, but it's just early in the match and that, so I'm happy with the Brazen Borrowers and the mana I have, that I can use a tempo play rather than having to rely on a Negate. So pushing it back for it to be drawn at another time probably made sense. opponent with a Chandra avatar starts out with playing an island and a healer's hawk. Talk about poker playing. Again, seems to be quite a slow and considered player. Sometimes that happens. I tend to not get too frustrated about it, just let them take the time they think they need. Simple enough attack for one life, you'd have thought, but there it comes. What was the thinking about? So, yeah, you had a second mana. He puts Angelic Gift to draw a card. And right on time, Petty Theft. Tempo, swing. He loses the enchantment. Hawk back to his hand. I could have borrowed it, but I think bringing out the 3-1. Who wants to attack? I'll trade. Opponent's on 3 cards. Comes in with Linden. There's a Wanderer. But yeah, this is a Petty Theft. Back to hand. Great tempo play again. More mana. Always good. Now I decide to attack. Just to try and get ahead. Fortunately, the Wanderer can't exile a 3-4, it's got to be 4 or more. So instead, I decide to bring, so now if 3-4 wants to attack, I can kill it. see what the opponent does. Could have a pump spell, of course, and I can see cards that are in his hand. So Angelic Gift. Comes in hot. Yeah, and I'm going to trade off here. Leaving with just the 1/1. Although it's a life linker. Moment of Heroism, which didn't really work. Now I have a negate. But now, here's where I go and do a fetch. This time in the deck, yeah, it's interesting. I thought I might make a different choice there about doing the card draw. Got Angel of Vitality. Now I do have a target for the Wanderer. And of course, mana working out quite nicely. Cast out the Wanderer. And use the -2 to exile the 4/4 Angel of Vitality. I'm keeping the gate up here. Which works out. Except player's not having it, but he's got those cards out of his hand. Bring out the Fave Wishes and cast out the second Wanderer. Still need a more impactful card, but in the interim I've got good tools. And at this time, with the opponent top decking, you'll see I go through a series of just drawing into land. Top deck war, as it were. Opponent's on 32 as well, so it's a long way to go. But as I said, patience is the order of the day. the light keeps going up because of the ability of London. I'll block the 1-1. It's a bit strangely attacked, but again, it's another take heart. Which is enough, obviously, to bump up. Take the Wanderer out. Yep, just land again for now. Side I'm going to try and bide my time for it and just use the 1-4 just to keep that life total up. I know once I get to where I want to be, there's a long road towards taking him down to 0. We have Sentinel's Eyes. 4-4. It's gaining life. I continue to be patient. Land again. So I don't really want to be taking any more damage. So again, it's no attack. Thinking this next attack I block, and then I fire off the plane of cleansing. Perfectmundo. But got to take care of this first. Sentinel's Eyes has gone back. I don't want to fire off Gadwish. Yeah, I want to maximise the good draw from. So let's pull the trigger on Gadwish for quite a bit. Again, with my opponent effectively top decking. I get a nice restocked hand. I can sit on a lot of mana. Just start the process of chipping away at the opponent, then taking care from tempo or locking down or banishing anything he's going to have that poses a threat. Takes a while, but I go through the motions. I'm holding the priority, obviously. Opponent having a long, hard think. Draws a card. I'm assuming these are enchantments, so he was just waiting for a creature. Possibly a land as well, but he was playing out the land, I think, when he drew it. But despite saying that, again, coming back to this deck, 23 land, but I've got however many, quite a number drawn. Mass manipulation, so in this case mass manipulation for anything you have that I want to steal, but doesn't become irrelevant, I don't think. Its top decks are not finding anything that's going to be a benefit. So I've now got the added insult to injury should you have to decide whether I want to actually remove it or steal it, depending on what it is. Back to my turn, and there's Faye. Yeah, I think it's at this point, because of the situation. The best thing, I think, is for some more draw. Drake. An attack with Gadwish. In these control matches where tempo-wise I've returned everything or cancelled or locked everything down, Gadwish makes a pretty decent beatdown creature, attacking for 3. Other half of Fae of Wishes, cast out. Now opponent has Angelic Exaltation. Now take a look at that, Banishing Light, exit. Yeah, don't need to run the risk of whatever that's going to do getting out of hand. Non-land permanent, so Banishing Light's perfect. That goes away. One of the things about is you want to try and cast something. Is he able to? Appears not. So it goes away. I just wanted the 3-1, more power just to try and get the job done quicker. Attack with all. Now doing 5 a turn. Opponent draws a pride mate. Cancel the Sentinel's eyes. It's interesting. It was better letting him cast it and then prisoning realm, so I might have stolen the Sentinel's eyes, unless it drops off and then returns to his hand. Yeah, another prison realm. It's at the end of the series, which, as I say, when I use this deck, hopefully to rank up to gold at tier 4, I will then do as I did with the last Rakdos Kill Creatures. At the end of that series, I will do a deck tech for this deck. You're seeing quite a lot of the cards. There may be a few others that have not come out yet, but the main idea of the deck, kind of tempo, card draw, the tempo is quite a big part with the borrowers in particular, and the opponent realises the inevitable is coming. And finally we rank up to silver tier 1. I hope you've enjoyed those series of matches and a first look at this Azorius deck that I'm terming Borrow the Gadwish. Thank you for watching.